This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
And I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hello, host Jason Glick. What's going on?
Oh, it's going fine, John. Just, as we were talking about earlier, I'm anticipating the last minute preparations for Fanime, and just, thinking about just like, hey, it's like by the time this podcast goes up, we'll be almost getting ready to go to that convention.
Oh, yes. Where you can see all sorts of, anime and other things related to Asian culture.
Yeah, and more importantly for us Southern California residents, it's like it allows us the chance to just get away from it all and head to a convention just completely outside of our comfort zone, or at least it would be outside of my comfort zone if I hadn't been there. This isn't going to be my 12th time going to the convention, so there you go.
There you go. And what do you have on tap for us tonight, sir?
Okay, well I've got a little something extra. Like compared to what I was talking about last time, because as I believe I mentioned at the end of last podcast last time, I did get my hands on David Lapham's Stray Bullets Uber Alles edition. Now, people who read the blog regularly will know that I expressed some consternation at the fact that even this omnibus collection of David Lapham of his acclaimed true crime series. It was basically a direct market exclusive. Basically, it was sent out to like comic shops could get this, but retailers like Amazon not so much. But hey, it turns out that I managed I was at WonderCon a couple weeks back, and I got my copy of it, and so that was great, fortuitous. I could have gotten it for less than what I paid for it, even though I did get a discount, but that's completely irrelevant to the podcast now. Just forget I said that. And so, hey, I was all prepared to talk about that, and figured, like, hey, like just going on for half hour or so about this would be a decent podcast. But reading through it, I mean, it's a lot more complex than that, but it's also a lot simpler. But I'm talking about it like this also makes me go like, hey, I can't just go on for forever about this. It deserves to talk about it in brief. It's like in summarized in whole. So I figured, what else can I talk about in relation to this? Well, hey, like Lapham, even though he made his name writing this series, won an Eisner for it. Just like a lot of indie creators, he eventually started working for Marvel and DC over the years, doing a lot of work on their superheroes. Now, I picked up the first volume of Stray Bullets, The Innocence of Nihilism, several years ago. I liked it, but I didn't get that whole like, oh, holy shit, this is like one of the greatest things I've ever read. I've got to buy all the volumes and all the issues now. That turned out to be a smart thing, considering like the nature of this omnibus edition. But as it turns out, I just kind of like just figured, hey, it's like maybe one of these days I'll pick up the rest of them eventually. But in that time, David Lapham did a lot of stuff for Marvel, DC, and Avatar and Dark Horse as well that I really didn't get into. I mean, it's like some of the stuff was decent, but not like hey, this is like, but not like on the level of like what I'd been led to expect, considering the word of mouth I've heard about his work and all. Now, to give you an idea of the kind of mind share and acclaim that Stray Bullets has leveraged, like in his time as an indie creator, when David Lapham did decide to make the big plunge into superhero work for Marvel and DC, he went with DC. And well, when you're writing a big crime story, who's the character that's best suited for that? Well, if you said Batman, then you were absolutely correct. Because DC didn't just give him, 12 issues of Batman to write. They basically gave him like a 12-issue miniseries. It's like in the pages of Detective Comics to write. I mean, this, Batman, City of Crime, they could have just made it like a big 12-issue maxi series, like Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's The Long Halloween was. But no, they decided to give it the big A-list treatment and said that he could do this series like in the pages of Detective Comics itself. Now, is it so? I mean, like, did it pay off for them? Well, kinda. I mean, like, City of Crime like it's like isn't like one of the best Batman stories I've read. It's not one of the worst either. It's really kind of middle of the road for the most part. I mean, you can see, Lapham's style again, in the sense that he his focus on the characters, on the say on the minutiae of the it's like of the private lives of these people, and it starts off really promisingly with a almost like a prose like an illustrated poem like with Batman. I'm basically tracking down this one kid who's in the dark, who's locked away, and he's going around just trying to like I'm beating the crap out of people in order to find this kid. And I'm laughing like does manage to conjure up a very say very squalid and very squalid and visceral take on Gotham, in the sense that it's very mean, very dark, and very brutal. But in the end, because it's Batman, like hope triumphs in the end. Now, in City of Crime proper, it's like once it starts, you've got, I mean, there's all these little things with the like the character. It's like with the people just going about their daily lives, being menaced by it's like by the pushers and the freaks. But the Batman, it's like always shows up, like for some of them just in time in order to save the day. And then but the main thrust of the story basically revolves around Batman's pledge to a woman to save her kid. It's like who's been kidnapped by unknown forces. Apparently there's been like a baby selling ring going around in Gotham that the Penguin had a hand in, and so did Mr. Freeze. And so you've got Batman trying to unravel this, but also with all these there's these weird like body snatchers going on with like bodies made of mud, and they're going around trying to like just inserting themselves into the city, and the infrastructure, like places of power, the police, and stuff. And Batman, Batman has to deal with this as well. It's not Clayface, but it's kind of like along those same lines. I mean, I like the character driven, detail oriented tact that Lapham takes with this. I mean, he does a good job of building up the little lives of the characters and all the background people, just to make them more interesting when the story has to focus on them. In fact, there's one particularly memorable installment in this series where it's just nothing but the little people, and just showing them what their lives are like in the middle of Gotham. And Batman doesn't even show up until the very end, until you find out that hey, he was this character all along. That was quite clever. I mean, it does kind of read like it might have been it might have actually been a story out of the Stray Bullets era, but it's not quite. But it's not quite. I mean, really, it's like there's still a lot of it's just not, the story just doesn't like the what am I trying to say here? It's not quite it's not as good as Stray Bullets, and that's a spoiler warning, because I really fucking like this. I mean, it's like it feels like Lapham just kind of dialed his skill back, dialed his impact back, and just told a straightforward superhero story that was informed by his true crime, by his crime story roots. And hey, in the end, Batman wins, and we get some weird stuff like the his use of the the ventriloquist in Scarface, which is fun. As you see the ventriloquist thing, Robin and Commissioner Gordon, just Jim Gordon at the time of the story. This is taking place. They're just hallucinating Scarface just chasing them down the stairs, even though he's just a puppet at this point. And there's fun creepy moments like that. But then you've also got just those mud creatures, and that it's kind of get the feeling it's like Lapham meant this to be a kind of a metaphor, like for Gotham, like rising up and attacking, Batman, like through the Earth itself. But just kind of like strike. It just kind of comes off as kind of like a like a C-list villain. It's like someone that that Lapham may have wanted to like have like lasting resonance, and since he created a story about these guys, and people are gonna like keep using this guy because of his resonance to the story, but it hasn't happened yet. So Batman, City of Crime has some really nice art from Ramon Box. He's very detail oriented, but but, but he's also like very comic booky in his style and style of expressiveness of his characters. I mean, it's great. It's great, solid storytelling, uh, and um, and I'm kind of wondering, whatever happened to this guy after his work here, and also for other stuff he did for Marvel. But he did solid work here, and I love and like I would really like seeing him do work someplace else. But Lapham, it's kind of like based on the hype, for this guy, it's kind of like not like it's not as good as you expect, to be honest. City of Crime, not bad. Kind of like if you're looking for like a decent Batman story where he's faced with overwhelming odds, and it's more like connected to Gotham itself, then yeah, I'd pick it up. But this is kind of like we're in kind of like you're talking about bargain bin territory here, or half off bins, as I like charitably call them. Anyway, but Marvel, on the other hand, like he's also done lots of work for them as well. And hey, if you're running a crime story for Marvel, well, who are you going to write? And if you said, hey, how about Daredevil or the Punisher? Then yeah, there you go. In fact, he wrote them both for Daredevil versus Punisher Means and Ends. Now this series came out like in the wake of in the middle of Brian Michael Bendis's epic Daredevil run. And basically, at the time of the story was written, Kingpin had been taken down, and Daredevil had kind of declared himself the Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. But then you've also got all these other guys trying to rise up and seize the business for themselves. And basically, the story revolves around the Punisher trying to put a stop to Hammerhead, like that guy with the invincible skull. His his efforts to take the place of the Kingpin. Only problem is, Daredevil. It's well, he's also out to stop the Punisher as well, because he believes that hey, like Daredevil, lawful good, Punisher, chaotic good, for lack of a better term. The story is basically them, like their basic worldviews playing out against each other, and also with this one little diner that the Punisher like stops by at one point, and influencing the kid to pick up a gun and start defending himself, not through any overt means, but just just saying, hey, this guy's the Punisher. I want to I want to be just like him, and try to like do something like save my family and all. Now this kid kind of like in his story kind of like basically is a running theme throughout throughout the volume, and how Punisher, like his influence on just regular people, to say he's not a superhero, he's just a guy with a lot of guns and a lot of military preparedness. The Punisher we get here is not the ultra competent professional that Garth Ennis writes, but he's still pretty interesting, and it's I don't know, the story itself is just kind of like the same kind of like morality between the two that you find like in just about any Marvel comic. It's like in this day and age, in the sense that you've got these flawed characters trying to do what's right, but it's still kind of like we don't really take a side on who's right or who's wrong. It's like, I would say it's like they're leaving that Lapham is leaving you up to decide who's right in this situation, but it's clear that his heart is really with the Punisher, in the sense that the character gets the majority of the screen time here, and Daredevil just pops in like every so often to do to do token lip service to the idea of like like obeying the letter of the law, like more than anything else. Um, like still there are some interesting touches like the like it's like Lapham's use of the jackal and his it's like his manipulation of it's like of the game of the conflict between the two superheroes to his own end, and Lapham also writes this also illustrates this series as he writes it as well, and he does some and pulled off some pretty decent work here, and there's also like a nice action sequence with the villain Bushwhacker who can turn his limb into any kind of gun he wants, including a flamethrower, which he does by drinking jet fuel. So good times right there. So, overall, it's like it's not. It's like it's still kind of like the same kind of like Batman. Some issues we have with Batman in the sense that you feel like he's not that he's kind of like being held back by the by working with superheroes here, in the sense he can't really like, get into the same kind of groove that defined his best work. And I'll just talk about this in brief because like wrote about his crossed stories on the site, and god damn, it's like he had some good ideas with family values and psychopath, but they just ultimately turned into crap in the end. And I did pick up the most recent volume at WonderCon, which had I did it because it was half off and it had a story by Garth Ennis in there. But the story that Lapham wrote basically made me go just like, oh god, man, this is so fucking terrible because it's just about just dumb. You know what? Just forget I said that. I'm just gonna just move on to talk about Stray Bullets itself, which after reading through all 41 issues in this omnibus, I have to go, where was this all my life? This is fucking great. I mean, after like all I mean like sorry, come on, Jason. Think. Like all the acclaim I'd heard about Stray Bullets over the years turned out to be absolutely justified after reading this volume. I mean, it's like Lapham writes really intense, really twisted, really dark, sometimes outrageous stories about real people, people who feel real, situations who feel credible. I mean, it's like even though like some of this stuff is like just downright surreal, and since in like in volume 2 where you've got the like the main cast stuck out in like the middle of it's like in the middle of the Las Vegas desert in the community and trying to get their guy elected as it's like as a local sheriff. It's like it's still everything about Stray Bullets feels credible and believable. I mean, it's not about it. It has a certain cast of characters. I mean, you've got they're all memorable. I mean, if the series has an sensible protagonist, it would be Virginia Applejack or Ginny to her friends, who we first meet when she witnesses a man being killed in an alley by a guy who we come to know as Spanish Scott. He's got long hair, likes to use a knife, and is cool as just putting his finger to his lips to letting you know, shh, nothing going on here. And from there, she like her world, it's like her Star Wars loving world is traumatized, and she's never quite the same again from living with her, from like dealing with her mother, to to work to putting up with bullies at school, to just eventually just running away and hooking up with people who actually on her same wavelength, even though like they're kind of crazy and maybe killers as well. But you've also got like guys like Orson, who was like high school graduate, like had his whole life ahead of him, but then hooks up with the seedy people in Baltimore, and apparently participated in some kind of drug deal gone bad with like Beth and one of her friends, and then he wound up just having to like get the fuck out of town and live out in the desert in the motel, and just having to deal with shit there. Then you also got like Monster. It's like the burly enforcer for one of Baltimore's big mob guys. And there's also like the Finger, like, well, he's a like he's a mafia guy who likes to collect fingers in order to just impress upon people who is what his deal is. You've got Huss, the it's like the high school football player who hey, he's kind of always wants to wants to get laid, all about the pussy. But then after one particular night with his friend, finds out that there's more to him than there's more to what guys can do by when they're by themselves and just really horny and all. So it's like this cast of Stray Bullets is really fascinating, really twisted, and the stories themselves are also just it's like really compellingly well written in the sense it's that there's not they don't feel ridiculous to the point where you're just kind of like thinking, oh, that couldn't happen. In fact, the one point where I did feel that turned out to be like a real clever trick on Lapham's part that I didn't twig on until the very end. So I loved that. I loved that part. I love just seeing him just writing about these characters and the story. Even though this is like 41 issues and like together, Lapham actually he wrote this in kind of like a really interesting way because it's not one contains like ongoing story. It's it's like each of these stories here in these 41 issues, they're all self-contained to a certain extent. So you can just like kind of read. You could have just read one like when they came out. In fact, that's clear that's what his plan was here. Like he was just writing stuff that could be enjoyed on its own, and then once you read it in the trade paperback, takes on a greater significance. That's brilliant writing. That's how writing for the trade should be. Stuff that is compelling on its own and not just we're just like, hey, that's not just oh, hey, it will only make sense when you read it all at once. Stuff that reads good when you read it when you read it the first time, and then when you takes on as significance when you read it in the trade paperback. That is the kind of stuff that Lapham does brilliantly in the Stray Bullets Uber Alice edition. You can see that in here. And yes, you got some crazy shit with the Amy Racecar stories, but when you read, all you need to know about to enjoy the Amy Racecar stories is that these are just stories that Virginia Applejack is telling you with Amy as her main character. So it's and don't get me wrong, a lot of these stories go some very very dark places, especially when Ginny and one of her friends are kidnapped by a child molester. But overall, I really could not put this down. I mean, even though I read this over 3 days, and I'm probably gonna read it again. It's like just because it was that good. I mean, and Lapham has a new Stray Bullets series out called Killers, which apparently what I've heard is that hey, all the stuff that Lapham has done since then he hasn't lost a thread with Stray Bullets. Still A-list stuff and and a fantastic read. So overall, Stray Bullets, the Uber Alles edition, yes, it's $60 goddamn dollars. I managed to get it for 25% off at WonderCon. If you're clever, maybe you'll be able to find it for like cheaper at other places. But overall, even if I had to pay $60 for this, it'd be worth every goddamn cent because the stories it tells here were that good. And even though there's only like 41 issues here, it's like I would happily read another 41 more. And I'm absolutely going to get the Killers volume once it's collected because hey, I want more. I mean, even though it's like the things. The story reaches like a certain amount of closure with this final issue. Like by the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, that was good. I want more. Oh man, it was so good. And and maybe one of these days, Lapham will be able to write a superhero comic as good as his creator owned stuff. But if he doesn't, hey, I don't care. But and if you're got long memories from my Image Previews picks, this absolutely means that I will be picking up his Murder Me Dead reissue when it's republished through them later, like in a couple months. So like I said, Stray Bullets Uber Alles edition, absolute must buy. Everything else he's done for Marvel and DC, meh. There you go. John, any thoughts?
Oh no, just interesting. especially a recommendation there at the end. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Well, since we're going to be doing this from Funime next time, we it's like it'll probably be time for another Hidden Treasures of Manga podcast.
Oh, there you go. Hey, appropriately themed, correct?
Indeed.
All right. And we'll catch you later on Comics Picks by the Glick.
All right. Bye.
Bye.